So this week, Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz had a debate about tax reform on CNN. Now, I'm going to show you 3 different clips. And I watched the whole debate. Really, there is no contest about who won this debate. And I think anybody with the facts in front of them would also agree. Now, near the beginning of this debate, Bernie Sanders practically shut down any other argument that Ted Cruz could make. So watch this clip and see what Bernie Sanders brings up.
Now, here is the most important point tonight. Really, it has nothing to do with taxes. It has something to do, everything to do, with campaign finance reform. And I want all of you to ask yourself a very simple question. Why do you think the Koch brothers and Ted Cruz's major donors, billionaires, are supporting these proposals? Do you think they're staying up nights worrying about working families? Do you think they're worried about kids who can't afford to go to college? Do you think they're worried about elderly people who can't keep their homes warm in the wintertime? They are not. You got one group of people, the Koch brothers, 2 people, worth over $95 billion. They are going to spend $300 million alone in this campaign cycle to do what? To pass legislation that protects the interest of the wealthy and the powerful, and to support candidates like Senator Cruz who will do just that. So when you think about politics, always ask the question, who is behind this agenda? There was an article, front page, Boston Globe the other day. It said, the Koch brothers want this tax reform. And you know what the article said? And Ted actually, I think, was at a meeting with the Koch brothers the other day. Was that right?
Indeed.
Yes. And what you may have heard this guy say, if you don't get your act together for the billionaire class, you know what they're going to do? They're going to cut your funding, Ted. You're going to be in trouble. So we used to think that what Congress was about is representing the middle class and working families of the country. Unfortunately, as a result of Citizens United, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. What this legislation is about is not for the working families of this country, no matter what Senator Cruz may say. What this legislation is about is to benefit the wealthy and the powerful and those who make large campaign contributions.
So right there, Bernie Sanders exposes what the entire conversation is about. This is really a conversation of reality versus what donors want. So Ted Cruz takes a lot of money from big donors. The Mercers, which is a billionaire family, are one of his biggest donors. The same people that also fund Breitbart, just as an aside. So that's where Ted Cruz is coming from in this debate. It's not a debate about who has the better ideas for the American people. No, it's a debate about Ted Cruz being the voice of the billionaires and the rich, which I guess the rich are billionaires, versus Bernie Sanders trying to represent actual people. So when you come from the debate, when that is one of the first points that Bernie Sanders makes in that debate, it really shuts down practically everything else that Ted Cruz has to say. Now, this next clip is a Danish man who is a conservative, and he throws sort of a trick question on Bernie Sanders, or I guess more of a curveball, but whatever. Watch how this guy asked the question and then see Bernie's response.
I was born and grew up in Denmark. And these are countries where the government spends taxes and spends approximately twice the level of the United States. Mm-hmm. While I'm very sympathetic to what you say, my sense is still that you would like to spend as a Scandinavian, but not tax as one. Is that correct?
The answer is, and you raised some very good points. How much do you pay, or do people in Denmark pay for healthcare when they go to the doctor?
There is an approximately, if I'm honest, about $10 copay for everybody.
$10. And how much do you pay when you go to the hospital? If you have cancer, God forbid, and you went to the hospital, how much would it cost you?
$0.
Oh, it costs you $0. And how much is preschool, high-quality preschool for the children in Denmark?
It would depend a little bit on the region of the country, but I'd say in $200 or $300 a month.
$200 or $300 a month, okay? And what about college in Denmark. Our kids can't afford to go to college. How much does it cost to go to college in Denmark?
Well, in fact, you get a government stipend to go to college.
In other words, not only is it free, they give you a stipend because they want to make sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that they take advantage of the wisdom of all of the kids. They want to make sure that every kid in that country gets the best education he or she can have. Is that correct?
If you have the appropriate grade average.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So here is the point. And your point is well taken. To provide quality, virtually free childcare, to provide free higher education, to provide virtually free healthcare, it costs money. Nothing is free. Taxes are high. You're right. But I would suggest that the average American would rather pay $3,000 more in taxes and see a $5,000 premium to a private insurance company disappear. They will be better off. In Denmark, my guess is, please correct me if I'm wrong, probably the per capita cost in healthcare is half what it is in the United States. Is that a good guess?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. So the point is, they are able to run a high-quality healthcare system, probably better than ours, at half of the cost because it's a public healthcare system. But to answer your point, and it's a fair point, nothing is for free. But I believe in a kind of society which is different than Ted's does. I want to see all of our people, the young people, the old, the poor, the working class, be able to get the education they need, the health care they need, the job training they need. Does it cost money to do that? It does. But I believe at the end of the day, that is the kind of nation that the American people would like to see us become.
Now, I just love this exchange. When I first saw this Danish man get up there and start asking Bernie Sanders this hard question, I thought about it from the position of CNN. I could just imagine CNN trying to look for, let's find a guy from Denmark or a guy from Norway who can talk negatively about the system they have there. Let's get them to ask a question about the super high taxes in those countries. So then this guy gets up there, asks his question. By the way, he's from a conservative think tank, so I assume he's generally a conservative person. He asked the question, and Bernie Sanders is like, yeah, if you want Medicare for all, if you want higher education, you need higher taxes. That kind of comes with the territory. So that is, a lot of you who live in the US may think that's crazy. I have to pay higher taxes so other people's kids go to school or other people have health care. But you're also paying for yourself so you have health care, so you can go to college. And when we actually compare healthcare costs, I think we're going to get to that in the next clip. When you compare healthcare costs, other countries that have universal healthcare pay less per capita. So you would actually be paying less in terms of what you pay for healthcare. You'd be paying less in your taxes than what you currently pay in premiums and copays for your current healthcare system. Now, this next clip is sort of a continuation of the one before, and you're going to see what I mean. So first, Ted Cruz is going to discuss how terrible socialized medicine is, and then, well, just watch.
He lionized socialized medicine in Europe. If you look at socialized medicine, there are waiting periods, there's rationing. The government says if you're an elderly person, you need a hip replacement. It says, well, you may not get a hip replacement. We were talking about Denmark. The average wait time in 2014 for cataract surgery
you leave that gentleman
was
up there?
83 days.
Come on back. Come on
and
back.
the average time
Sorry.
in Denmark, which he brought up, for hip replacement was 55 days, 59 days for knee replacement.
Now, you heard his remarks about you're with the Peterson Institute, which is a conservative group. So I'm talking to somebody who's a conservative. All right. How bad is and I don't know the answer. You tell me. Is the Danish healthcare system also terrible?
No, I mean, I think the general characterization of sort of waiting lists across the board is vastly incorrect. And I'll give you the example of my mother, who was hospitalized with cancer. She was treated, in a matter of 1 or 2 days. And this is true on a number of issues. So the demonization of healthcare systems in Europe is just not true.
I love this. That clip is amazing. This guy, this conservative Danish man, or I'm going to say he's at least from a conservative think tank. So whether he's conservative personally or not, you can make your own assumptions. But they get this man clearly to try and stump Bernie Sanders during the debate. Bernie turns the question around on him and absolutely sells the Danish system, the Scandinavian system of higher taxes and more services for everybody. And then in the next question, where Ted Cruz tries to discuss how terrible universal health care is, Bernie Sanders brings this conservative guy back up to explain to everybody, actually, the Danish healthcare system isn't that bad. We have it pretty good. And we also pay less for it. So just Bernie's ability to be genuine and correct on the issues is unmatched. And watching a debate like this, it's clear why Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the country. Because not only is he honest, but he's right. I have a hard time looking through Bernie's previous platform and just the things he stands for and trying to find anything where he is factually incorrect. I mean, if there's one position that I guess he hasn't taken that I would want him to take, is the decriminalization of all drugs and look towards the legalization and use of psychedelic medicines to help people with mental ailments. Now, that's a position that may seem extreme, but if you look at the facts and the data that supports it, then it would make sense. Now, I haven't seen Bernie come out against that, but I'm just using that as an example of it's really tough to find an issue that Bernie Sanders is on the wrong side of. So these debates are honestly maybe the best part of CNN right now. I have a lot of issues with how CNN covers the news, but when it comes to having these sorts of discussions where we actually get into policy and being able to discuss the different sides and where they are on actual policy and get into the weeds on that, not many other networks, as far as I've seen, or any other network, are really having those conversations. So thank you, CNN, for having this debate. You should have more of these. Maybe just fill your entire schedule up with them and just don't do anything else. That would be great, but that's not going to happen. But I don't know. I enjoyed this debate. I'll put a full link to it in the description below, and watch it and let me know what you thought.